My name is Matthew Kemps. I'm with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty, and this is
Kirschling with Gold Star Mortgage.
And this is Two Mats, One Market.
So, Kemps, what's caused the chaos in the real estate market here in 2023?
So let's start with media.
Okay.
Media has caused a lot of the fear that's been built up in the market. You're seeing that they're talking about how prices were going to be dropping. We're going to be put into spots where you're going to think, oh, 2008 was bad. Wait till you see what happens now.
Right.
Well, none of that's actually happening. Prices are normalizing. They're not depreciating. Typically in the start of the year, we see January, February, March, April, you see a little bit of an appreciation come over.
Yep.
And then once we hit kind of the summer months, July, August, you see a little bit of stabilization. And then from there on, it just basically cruises. Currently right now, because of what we had in 2021 and the start of 2022, 2021 was ridiculous. We had about 20% appreciation rate nationally.
Yeah.
Austin, I think we were close to some areas were like 41 to 42%.
It was crazy.
So when we have appreciation like that, there's going to have to be a correction to it. It doesn't mean we're actually depreciating value because of what the actual normalized value is, but we're having to come to a normalization to where we're at, which is where we are currently.
Right.
So you still have, let's just call it John and Jane, and they're just freaking out because like, oh, what's going with the market right now? It feels like prices are dropping. We can't sell. We're trying, back to our last episode when we were like, oh, we're trying to time the market. Well, there is no timing the market.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist that way. No one's perfect. And when someone asks, what are rates going to do? Well, we don't have an answer of magic ball saying, oh, this rates are going to do this, this, and this. We don't know. Even the people who are planning rates don't know what rates are going to do.
Right. It's easy to look in the rear view and claim that you had an idea of what was going on, but the reality is that, people get lucky and they're happy they bought when they did.
Exactly.
So
go ahead.
Go on.
I wanted to ask you, we had some notes when we were looking at some statistics. With the COVID modifications that were happening in 2021 and 2022, what are you seeing with foreclosures going on right now? Are you seeing anything? What's happening with short sales? That kind of scenario.
I'm not seeing many foreclosures or short sales right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a few people that put little to no down payments down and ran into some issues, but those are few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's nothing compared to some of the statistics that would come out. Is it even 1%? No. Yeah. And then, as far as the foreclosure process is concerned, I mean, this is something that I've been meaning to touch on a lot of these episodes. People hear foreclosure and they think automatic deal. But one of the things that a foreclosure means is that it means that the people who are living in that home, they're not leaving by any other means other than by force, right? So if you see a foreclosure situation, it means that financing typically isn't available for foreclosures because the appraiser of a property, if there's financing, has to be able to get into a property. And if there's somebody who owns that home that is not going to let them in, you run into trespassing issues, you run into foreclosure laws and everything along those lines. And from my experience, most foreclosures are bought in cash, sight unseen, and then you get what you get once you finally get to go into it.
Who are you seeing typically buy up these foreclosure properties?
Cash investors that are seasoned. They know what they're doing.
Not their first time?
Well, no, because not only do you have to have the money, but after you purchase this property, you still have to deal with those tenants. You have to go through the foreclosure proceedings legally. So you need to hire counsel, like an attorney, and everything along those lines. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, like if you've never bought a foreclosure or you haven't done a few investment properties already, making a comment like, oh, I want to buy a foreclosure, like you don't understand what you're talking about. We do see situations with short sales where it's a bank-owned property and the sellers the people who own the home are like, look, we don't want it anymore. We're willing to cooperate. And those typically, we can get those done with financing. But the truth is I actually see those go for sometimes even more than market value because they come with that short sale, kind of sticker.
And it's almost like the investor is someone trying to get into investing.
Right, exactly.
And it's, okay, this is a short sale. I'm going to take advantage of this.
It has to be a good deal.
It has to be a good deal. And we're not actually running numbers. We're just it's a short sale. It's going to be below market value. I'm going to pay a little bit over. I'm still in a good spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know that one of the other stats we wanted to talk a little bit about was, homeowners that currently have their homes paid in full. And you asked me ahead of time, you're like, wow, this seems like a really high number at 37%. But I think it's a testament to two things. I mean, number one, there's no doubt that you have a major population of homeowners or boomers. And, they own their homes in full. They've been in, and the testament is they've been in the housing market for so long. I say this to everybody. Early 2020, I had a lot of first-time home buyers that were very, very fearful of making offers over asking or even doing appraisal gap waivers, meaning they would agree to pay for more than what the house would appraise for. And I had buyers asking me, like, who has this money? Well, I'll tell you, it's people who got into the housing market when they were younger. And so now you have boomers that are, they've been in the housing market for 25, 30 years.
Let's touch on that a little bit. So what do you expect they purchase that home for, and how much equity they have now because they're able to use those funds?
I mean, one of the things I typically try to show people is that you're going to see average appreciation year over year, meaning, we can't just look at you gave a statistic of 1 year we saw 40% appreciation. But if we look over appreciation year over year, call it even 20 to 30 years, we typically see about 3 to 5%. Certain areas are appreciating at, 5 to 7%. So you can do it both ways. I mean, you could take what a house is worth now and just every single year subtract 5%, 5%, 5%. I promise you'll get within, $10,000 or $20,000. So, doing that, I mean, people who bought homes 25, 30 years ago, definitely were purchasing those homes in the $60,000, $70,000 range and turning around and selling them 30 years later for over $1 million. And that equity, they're just turning around and buying these homes in cash. Hence, your 30% of homeowners in the country have a mortgage that's paid in full. And this is why we beg people, get into home ownership, do not rent, because that could be you, right? You could be one of the 37% that doesn't have a mortgage if those are your goals.
We don't have statistics on this, but what do you, just based off conversations, from the first-time home buyer, they don't know how to stay in that home that long. They can't get their appreciation, 5, 7 years typically?
I personally, and this is, like I said, this is just me in my experience with buying homes, and we average over 100 transactions a year. So even though I'm not the one putting the money up, we're part of it. And 3% or 3 years seems to be kind of the tipping point where, maybe you can get out from underneath it in 3 years and you're still going to see appreciation. 5% seems to be really the sweet spot. 5 years seems to be really the sweet spot. And then 10 years seems to be
no problem.
You can't lose.
Yeah.
Right. But for first-time home buyers, I usually see most first-time home buyers sell after that 5-year timeline. 10 years, seems to be the long game. But I mean, you go 10 years with 5% appreciation year over year. I mean, that compound appreciation, it adds up, man.
Completely.
So, from your experience on the real estate agent side, who's buying and selling right now?
So let's just label this entire conversation as life happens.
Right.
Okay. So let's just use some scenarios. Let's say you were coming out of college, you got a good tech job, you want to live in the domain, you want to live near downtown, whatever it might be, and you just want to have that condo, your sexy, sweet condo, close to going out, close to restaurants, close to everything you want to do for when you have your going out life.
Right.
Okay. You end up finding someone, you meet someone, well, you find out she's pregnant. You're not going to be raising that kid most likely in that condo downtown in the domain.
Life happens.
Bingo. So you may have that sexy high 2-point-something% interest rate or in the threes, and that's a few years ago you may have bought it. Well, life happens. You ain't going to have that anymore. You got to move on. You got to get set up for where you want that kid to be and where you want to have that kid grow up.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect scenario. Or we can go in another one. Let's say, for example, that same kid, you move to a neighborhood and you find out that he loves playing football. And that's his life. He just loves football. And you're in a school district where they have a football team, but it's not like what you would think to be the best football team. So you and we'll just go pretend it's me. I'm with my wife and I'm looking around at different school districts where the best football team is, where the best coaches for the best opportunity. And I'm going to use an example of Westlake or Lake Travis here. Okay. Yep. And I look for a home. Can I afford to buy in Westlake? Can I afford to buy in Lake Travis ISD? Which one's the best option for me? Find out that the amount of kids that are getting scholarships to go play the D1, D2, D3 schools out of those, that school district is higher than everywhere else in the Austin area. Am I going to move to those areas and focus on that? Yes, life happens.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what we always say is some of the it's sad but true, but it's, what is it? Death, divorce, and diapers.
Bingo.
Those are the three things that seem to always move the needle for people who are in our business.
Once again, my name is Matthew Camps. I'm with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty. Do us a favor. You're going to see a little subscribe button here. And then down in the description below, if you ever want to book some time with us dedicated just to you, whether it's your home search or it's understanding your home's value or you want a free market analysis, down below, you're going to see a Calendly link. It's going to be a link to you, both Matt's calendar and mine. You'll be able to schedule dedicated time just with us to go over everything you want answered about the real estate market, your home, your search, whatever it might be. And we look forward to working with you. You're also going to have a phone number right here and a phone number right here. That is going to be my phone number, and it's going to be Matt's phone number. Mine's the 310. Matt's is the 512. Any questions you may have, feel free to call us at any time. But best way to do it is the Calendly link, because then you get your dedicated time just with us.
So right now we know that a quarter of people that have been surveyed feel like prices are coming down. So if think about that. If you were having dinner with like 4 people, one of them is very, very confident that we're going to see a drop in real estate values. We kind of covered it a little bit, but just to kind of really do that deep dive, why is that not happening?
It is not happening because we're not in an appreciating market. We're in a normalizing market.
Right.
So in a scenario basis, let's pretend I'm sitting here. We got Matt here as well. And let's just say we had, not our wives because they're in real estate, but let's say it's
non-real estate related. Yes.
Yeah. So non-real estate related people hearing this, one of the 4 people in this scenario will be thinking that we are in a scare. We're in a market that is coming down, depreciating. Well, we're not. It's normalizing. And there's a really good analogy that I heard from Steve Harney at Keeping Current Matters. So let's pretend you're driving up a hill and the speed limit is 45 miles per hour, but you hit that hill and you're going down to 40. Well, you're still accelerating up that hill. You're just not, same scenario we were talking about earlier, it's not a 40 to 41% increase.
Right.
You're still appreciating. Going back to Matt's comments where it's usually in that 3 to 5 or 5 to 7% appreciation rate, you're still going up the hill. It's not decelerating, not throwing in reverse and going down that hill. You're still going up that hill.
Well, and I think one of the biggest confusions that I'm seeing a lot with real estate agents and, potential sellers is that they're listing their property and they're having to make price reductions. And because of these price reductions in their mind, property values are going down. Mm-hmm. The problem is that as a lender, this is something that's very, very, at the forefront of my mind, where it's like, it doesn't matter what a property is listed at. It doesn't matter what somebody thinks it's worth. It matters what somebody's willing to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of this stems from sellers that, don't get me wrong, you can't fault anybody. Everybody wants to get as much for their property as they possibly can. But if a seller's not like super duper motivated, typically they're going to say, well, I think it's worth X amount in hopes that they land here. Mm-hmm. And so as a typical maybe just consumer, you see property values going down and then you think, oh, that means that the real estate market's going down. Those have zero correlation.
Correct.
Right? And so that, to your analogy, it's like, yeah, okay, we're not seeing properties sell for, 10, 15, 20% over asking. Sure, maybe we're not even seeing things sell at asking price. But what they're actually selling for, and when we look at other comparable sales, we're not seeing the real estate market go down based on sales.
Correct.
Because you can't just, we have a property in my neighborhood that's listed like around the corner. It's been on the market for like 6 months. And it's like, oh, well, property values are going down. Like, I know what that property needs to be sold at in order to like go under contract. Mm-hmm. And when it does, it will still be the highest comp in my neighborhood.
And here's the other portion where I was thinking about when stuff is sitting and we're advertising, let's say, for example, it's rate buy down, right?
Right.
There is no way in the MLS, unless you read the description, to see that.
That's true.
There's a portion where there's a tab you can click to where it's seller concession. I don't know exactly what's labeled in MLS, but you can say if the seller is willing to do anything as a bonus to this property, right? There's no way to search that in Zillow. There's no way to search, and if there is, please tell me because I've been looking for this.
On how to find out the seller concessions and everything along those lines.
Whenever we advertise, it's not like you have to be going through the MLS with your agent to be able to find in the descriptions.
Yeah, I was going to say I know other agents that will reach out to the agent who sold that property and ask those kind of questions.
Correct.
But you got to really dig to find that out.
That's when you throw it on your agent and he's doing a market search for you, or she, or it might be, and you have to. The agent has to do that work for you. You can't just base it off of Zillow. This is where it goes back to. Make sure you have a good agent.
Yeah, I mean, that's, we don't talk about that enough as far as like that is an example of why having a real estate agent can help you. And I guess in this case, it might actually hurt your argument if you think the property values are coming down or whatever. But, I mean, it's important to have the facts.
In the same point, it's not depreciating value, it's normalizing.
Right. I'm trying to think of what else we want to cover here, but I know that one of the bullet points that we put together was, typical market start of the year pricing usually goes up. We talked a lot about this in our last episode with people, children coming out of school. That's ideally when people want to move. So we see more inventory, but we see prices are up. And then here we are. Gosh, can you believe it's already the third week of October?
I can't. Can you believe we're already halfway through NFL season?
No, that's a good point. We had a bye week for Cleveland, so it doesn't feel like that. But yeah,
last week was halfway through college season.
Yeah, listen, I'm old, man. Like I'm literally at that age where I feel like my parents, where like a year used to feel, even in my 30s, a year used to feel like, oh well, that's a year. Like a year now feels like 8 months. I'm at where a year is 8 months.
I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah. No, it takes a while, but I'm getting there. Like I said, I'm almost 40. And that's like, oh, it sucks. Anyway, so this is a normal cycle because here we are almost in November, and it's like the end of the year. And I promise any of you that are in real estate, that like as soon as Thanksgiving hits, it's like whatever you have under contract. You might have that one buyer that really wants to buy, or that one seller that really wants to sell for tax purposes, and maybe you can slide that one in, but. Yeah, man, it's all about getting prepped for 2024 and doing all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I more give audience a task. Whether it's you want to reach out to us, you have an agent for yourself, go do some homework and look and watch the market to see what it does in November, December, and watch how much inventory is going to drop.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's interesting because, it's even worse where I grew up, man. Cleveland, it's like a ghost town because nobody wants to move in like a foot of snow. But out here, yeah, they're like, well, I'll just wait until next year. We got the holidays, we've got travel, we've got all that kind of stuff. Kids are going to be home for the, winter break and everything like that. So, yeah. But we talked about this. I mean, in the winter, that's when you can get the deals, right? I mean, the inventory is a little lower, but if you're not as picky. And those are your first-time home buyers. I mean, that was something that I can't remember who we were talking about, but it's like as a first-time home buyer, it's imperative to try to not be as picky, get in that home, start building that equity. It might not be your dream home, but you're young. Trust me, you got plenty of time to get old, and where a year feels like 8 months, and then you could sell and get a house you really want.
Adding to that point, if you go the new construction route, during the holiday or during that Q4 end of year, builders work on a sales cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you are looking for, let's call it a 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 1,750 square feet, first time you're going to purchase, and you want that deal and you want that opportunity to go get some kind of equity into a property, you look into an area, well, they're going to do some price reductions, but they're going to stabilize their prices to where they still appraise, and they're going to give you these fucking massive credits. Sorry for cussing, but yes.
Well, and I think that's important for someone who's looking to sell their home. Like, why not list your property close to what it is going to be worth or appraised for, but know or bake in that potential so that when you have other buyers, and especially like, if we can't get our first-time home buyers in front of like, lenders that are doing good education, it makes it really difficult. I mean, I would love to talk to any single buyer about how the buy downs work and everything like that to get their interest rates to, an affordable level.
Let's time out real quick. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, but I'm like the boogeyman, right? So what we've been seeing is like you've got a couple different options, and it really comes down to what I like to call like a buyer's appetite.
Okay.
Right, in regards to risk and in regards to, their budget. So so let me start with the sellers. I think sellers, you really need to make sure that you are listing your property with enough potential to have at least 2, ideally 3% seller concessions that go back to the buyer, right? You will still net anything you're looking to get as far as the sale is concerned, but talk to your real estate agent, have them run those numbers, because if we can get that 2 to 3% in certain situations, I mean, we have the ability to come down 2% lower than what we call like a start rate or a par interest rate is, off the initial pricing. So right now, here we are, third week of November, we're seeing stuff right at about a 7%. So if we're able to get those seller concessions, we're able to reduce that interest rate on the start all the way down to about a 5%. I mean, I had one where it was FHA. We were able to get 6% seller concessions, and we bought that interest rate all the way down to 4%.
And who is responsible for doing the negotiation to get that for your client?
I mean, the buyer's agent, ideally. And so, you want to make sure your buyer's agent, your agent, when you're buying, understands that. And then again, real estate agents on the listing side, I've been seeing a lot of this going in the, NMLS. They've been partnering with a real estate agent because technically you shouldn't be kind of quoting any interest rates unless you're licensed, which I am. They've been partnering with real estate agents and putting things like, hey, with interest rates as low as, or things of that nature. And of course, we'll have to make sure the verbiage is correct and in compliance. But that's enticing to buyers. They see, wait a second, it's possible that we could get something in the 4% range, because it's a huge, huge deal. I mean, just doing quick math, it's going to reduce, you're talking on a $500,000 home, you're looking at like $700 a month to save monthly from going from, like a 7% down to a 5%.
Big
and
difference.
And if we can get it even further, I mean, imagine saving, like, I guess that this would be, you'd be saving yourself over $1,000 a month. I mean, if we go FHA and we do all the things, and if the house is sitting for a while, anything's negotiable in real estate, right?
Bingo.
So,
here's the only thing I would want to ask questions on. So, say for example, market value of the home, let's use round numbers, is $500,000. In that scenario, are you saying to put the value of the property at 2 or 3% more?
Yeah. So in that case, if I'm not a real estate agent, so don't kill me here, but I just try to put myself in the shoes of a real estate agent, and if I wholeheartedly feel like this house priced to sell, 500,000 is going to get it done, right? Not like, oh, I'm going to list it at 500,000 with the intention of maybe selling it for 495. I mean, 500K price to sell. That's going to get it done. I'm listing that property at 515 and putting in the remarks that we have $15,000 available for seller concessions.
Okay.
Right? That way, buyers agents understand this. They're going to be able to go back to their buyers and say, hey, listen, why don't we view this property, especially if they're in a position to where you have a buyer that, isn't like set on an exact property type. They're more concerned about affordability. That house is going to stand out. It's in the remarks. Hopefully you got a buyer's agent that's going to do a good job. Or even if we run into a situation on the listing side where, let's just say you have a buyer that comes in and says, oh, 515, I'd like to just offer 500 and I want, 15,000 in seller concessions, and they're moving everything around. It's like, maybe suggest that buyer reach out to a lender that understands what's going on, because I think we can all agree, I mean, not every single real estate agent is built the same, and you might just be dealing with a buyer's agent that doesn't understand what you're trying to accomplish. And it might be good to say, hey, I have a lender that's going to be able to explain this buy down, show you some figures, show you how it's going to make sense. Because I mean, if 500 is the number and you guys are coming asking 515, I mean, this is what the builders are doing, right? I mean, we as lenders didn't like come up with this idea on our own. I mean, we really did. Like, I wouldn't say we stole it from builders, but like builders were really the ones. I remember them doing this in like 2002, 2003. It was common practice, and it kind of went away. Seller concessions were like the boogeyman in 2020 and 2021. I mean, if you were asking for seller concessions, you were like laughed out of the offer. And I think a lot of that is, you know, been trickled over into this market where you do have agents that they just can't wrap their head around even asking for a seller concession. They're like terrified to do it.
And it's most likely when they got their license in 2021.
Right. And they're like, oh, no one's gonna accept that. And it's like, look, this is a different market. And bottom line is, it's really just about what will the sellers net. And I think the other reason why it was very frowned upon in 2020 and 2021 was because we had an increasing market where it was hard to find comparable sales. And so we kind of knew the possibility of the home appraising was not as likely as it is now.
Exactly.
Where we have the comparable sales, we can ask for those concessions. So that really is that right there is one of the biggest differences. You know, the comps are there, the homes are appraising. Because again, if we go back to where rates drop and people are making offers way over asking, then seller concessions will go away again.
And
With
then
builders, with across the board.
And I'm going to add on to Matt's point, just from the listing agent side of things. When we move a search to 515, and let's say the common search is 500,000 or less. The only thing that I get in the way with that is 515. I'm now knocking that out of the search for someone who has 500,000 or less. So Zillow, Realtor.com, all the different sites where consumers are looking, even though they should just go straight to my website, build in a freaking tool on where it somehow does the math. Where, say, for example, we do list at 515 in this scenario.
Right.
But it's giving a $10,000 to $15,000 in seller concession that somehow, when they look at that list price, it still includes into their search because of the concessions.
Yeah, so
if there's someone that can do that, I know it's not hard. You guys do way harder things than that. I'll even try to do it on my own website, but I need MLS at first to cooperate with that. If we can somehow build that in, until we do build that in, I think the pricing scenario still has to be $499. But regardless, the seller is willing to give a $15,000 in settlement and expenses on the 1 to 4 family contract towards your closing costs. But we've already set expectations with a strong offer. That's what you get.
I know. I think the tough thing is I had an agent say there's, buyers only see two things: pictures and price. Right? They're not reading the comments. They're not, and especially if they don't understand what seller concessions are, instead of admitting it or asking questions, it's just easier to say, oh, I don't get it. So it's pictures and price. And I hear what you're saying. So yeah, I mean, listing at $499, even if you were to say $499, willing to give $15,000 in seller concessions, I would be concerned that wouldn't even be something that would get read.
What if you put in the front picture that they see on Zillow?
Yeah.
In massive red, seller providing $15,000 in seller concession.
Yeah, pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the answer.
And you throw like a label on top of it.
Right.
Might be doing that.
That's a great question. I don't know. Maybe there's a compliance issue around it. Talk to your broker.
Find out.
Right. Well, outside of that, I guess at this point, I mean, I know you wanted to kind of cover a couple closing points. You got a couple of things that you wanted to make mention of. One of the analogies you said I thought was great.
You want me to go with the McDonald's one?
I liked that one, yeah.
Okay. So, in the market that we're in right now, and real quick before we get into that, we still have to get to the two funny questions too.
Oh, right on.
Okay, so let me finish this analogy,
Yep.
and then we'll get into two funny questions. In the market we're in right now, let's just say, for example, you are considering selling. The analogy backtrack. McDonald's in a snowstorm, okay? That's where we need to start. Apple store in a snowstorm. The McDonald's store in the snowstorm, let's say it's a 4-day snowstorm, you can't get out of your house. Well, they're losing breakfast, lunch, and dinner on those sales. Is Apple losing the same thing? No. Because in the scenario, Apple Store, when they open back up after that snowstorm, all the consumers that were going to be going to the Apple Store during that snowstorm are going to be in a frenzy to come back to the Apple Store and come buy their products. It's not like their body needed it at that very point.
Right.
It's still on top of mind. They still want the product. Similar scenario with the real estate market. Homes have to be purchased. Something's going to have to happen to it. Homes have to be sold. Back to life happens.
Yeah.
So in the same scenario, there's investment properties. You have personal things going on. It's not like things are not going to happen in the real estate market. You just have to get back to work. For us, we have to educate you guys, and then you have a better understanding of what's going on. So there's not this scare factor from the media, and then you're going to see, and not to give expectations or plans ahead of time, but I really do expect that 2024 springtime is going to be not a full frenzy, but we're going to see a much faster movie market.
Yeah, it's going to pick up. And like I said, I always try to not be so black and white in what's going to happen, kind of like what you said, to give guarantees. But the one thing I think is for sure, I mean, I think it's definitely going to pick up. And then from there, you have to ask yourself, what does your appetite look like in regards to if you're a buyer or if you're a seller? Because I ran into a lot of people when things were hectic and rates were low. And I had people just look me square in the face and say, look, I don't care if rates are low. I can't handle buying a home in this market. Mm-hmm. And interest rates went up, and we called some of those buyers back, and they're like, okay, now I'm ready, because they required more time to look at homes, get inspections, take time to think about it. That's your market, right? So, yeah, if things pick up, I can promise, if your appetite is more toward the latter of what I just described, where you think you need time to think about it, you need time to do your research, you need time to view the home, maybe even twice. If things pick up, that opportunity is gone for you. So consider that, because that was the big complaint that I heard when things were low rate and fast paced.
And 0-day options. And
right.
Not saying that it was the best idea in the world, but sometimes you had to do that to be able to win an offer if that's what your buyer really wanted, that property, and you had to have that discussion of what that actually means. And I'll explain what that means. 0-day option means that, sure, you can get an inspection done, but there's no time period on the contract that you can back out for absolutely no reason.
Right. Yeah, and that was what was really interesting to me, because I don't know if it's like character or what it is, but like there's just people that are hyper rate focused, hyper just like want what they want, throw it in the bag. Rates are low. I'm buying a home no matter what.
Yep.
And they operated well in that market. And there were people in the same market that just were like, I cannot wrap my head around that. And now you've got people that are, here we are, you've got all the time in the world, and there's people like, I refuse to buy a home with the way rates are right now. And it's like, well, I hope you also don't happen to be the person that thinks that you're going to get, some time and a deal. Because like those two things just don't go hand in hand.
And especially with the amount of time you have right now, I'm seeing, I don't know, you can probably still close loans, 27, 30 days?
Less than that. I mean,
even better. See?
Things being the way they are right now. I mean, we have one closing today that we did, and from start to finish, I mean, it was like 15 days.
Bingo. So when you're going through the process of buying a home, it's not, you're going to have the lender time where he says 15 days is on the fast side, but it's not like you need to bank on the lender taking the time. There's just other things in the process, your inspection, title, waiting for appraisal to come back. Everything that kind of goes to the process usually ends up to about 30 days, but still don't feel like you're being rushed, because right now, with the amount of days you can have during option period, typically option periods right now that I'm getting on buyer contracts for the listings we have, we're looking at 7-10 days on average. That is so much time. And where we were averaging like $200 to $300 a day on option fees. So let's just say, for example, it was back in 2021, early 2022, let's say it was a 3-day option for $200. So you can $600 option for 3 days. That's absurd. I'm getting
expensive.
I'm getting a $300 option for 7 days right now.
Right.
So there's different things that when you talk with your buyer's agent about when you're making these offers on what is the market trends now compared to what the market trends were then. So now you feel like, okay, the stress isn't on me. I don't have to stress out over proceeding with this property ASAP. I have some time to look at this option period.
Yep.
And analyze what's actually in front of me.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, if that's you, do not wait then.
Yeah,
definitely do not wait. Right. Anything else you want to cover? Oh, we got
some questions.
All right.
This is a portion of the show where we kind of just ask each other dumb questions, keep it kind of, it's not all real estate here. We kind of have some fun with things. You got anything you want to start? You want me to go?
I've got my dumb question list over there. I forget them, but if you've got one, I'm ready. All right, here's a fun one. If someone was visiting Austin for the first time, what would the itinerary that you put together for them be?
This is a long answer. Sit down and here we go. All right, they arrive at the airport. We are now leaving airport. I picked them up. First, let's just get situated at their Airbnb. They're probably staying out. It's totally freaking badass. Or they're staying 4 Seasons or wherever they're staying, okay? Drop their shit off first. From there, we're going to go to Rudy's Barbecue. And there's so many locations, and I'm going to sound horrible saying this, but it is in a gas station, and it is probably one of my favorite barbecues in town.
Rudy's is legit.
The brisket is always phenomenal. Their cream corn is phenomenal. They're smaller. I shouldn't say small. There's more like authentic feel barbecue places to go to.
Yeah.
Like you can go like Terry Black's, or you can go to.
I always make the trip to Lockhart.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or you can go down to Salt Lake and Driftwood.
Yeah.
Those are different. Those are more of experiences. But when I think my favorite food barbecue wise, Rudy's just kills it every single time.
It's up there. It's up there.
Part 2, from when we leave there, I'm going to make sure they get here on a Friday. We knock that stuff out for dinner. Then we go out. I probably would take them to West 6th.
Dirty 6th or West 6th?
West.
Okay.
Maybe once there's a little bit more alcohol involved and they just need to see Dirty 6 and
Make
see
a
what it
trip
looks
to
like.
the dirty.
Yeah, just take a peek at the dirty.
Gotcha.
And it's not a bad idea to go check out Rainy.
Yeah.
That's more of a dedicated area.
When are they shutting that down?
For what?
Condos. They're building condos there.
Okay. For a second, you scared me because there's a guy who's a serial killer over there.
Oh, yeah, that too. Well, not because of the serial killer, but yeah, I hear like Rainy's going out of biz.
Okay, I'm going to have to look in more into this.
Yeah, they're building a bunch of condos. That's the rumor, man. They shut down a lot of those places. So you might want to change that in your itinerary.
Well, good thing that was like the last backup.
Right.
Okay, so let's just plan it. We're going West 6 and Dirty 6. Just take a peek at it, okay? Dirty is more, it's not like where you want to hang out, but like nostalgic of it, you got to go take a peek at it.
Yeah. A lot of homeless people.
A lot. A lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So let's just say that night's over. Take your Uber, go back home.
Well, wait. South Congress is right there.
Okay, we can go South Congress.
Right?
Okay, I'm not a South Congress guy. You can add on. I'm going to let you add on there.
All right, fair enough. Well, no. I'll do my itinerary. You keep going.
So I'm
you're
going to move
going
on,
to 6th.
okay? We don't want to be too hungover the next day, okay?
Okay.
We got a home game for Texas, okay? And coincidentally, we're playing, it's going to be when they're in the SEC next year, because that's when they'll be coming to visit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say it's a Bama versus Texas home game.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we're gonna have a massive tailgate. I'm gonna first want to take them, and it's a perfect time 6:30 game, not like an 11 a.m. game where you're getting up at 7 a.m. to go start tailgate.
Right.
Okay? So you wake up, you do your thing, grab some breakfast. We'll go to somewhere close by. That's not the important part. But then we'll start the tailgate at wherever it might be. Let's just say it's parking lot, south part of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go to tailgate. You see all the smoked brisket. You see everything else. Have more of a home cooked barbecue feel, if you know what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Hang out, kind of see what Texas game day life is really like. From there, it's either go bar hop again,
Okay.
or stay outside, keep tailgating, or it's go into the game. My option would be option 3, go into the game.
Right.
Okay. So as soon as they're done with game, then you come back out. God, there's so much drinking in Texas. I'm not realizing this. Okay?
That's okay. That's the way it is.
Yeah. And once you're done with the game and we got a W, come out and basically repeat what we did the night before.
Okay.
And then we have Sunday. Okay, Sunday NFL. Sunday NFL doesn't start till noon. So in the morning, probably take them to some cooler spots. Go check out the overlook at 360 Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Go check out Lady Bird.
Yep.
What am I missing here? Man, I am such a
Barton Springs.
Yeah, you gotta go to Barton Springs.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, you're gonna be more the
Yeah, I'm gonna knock this out real quick. So, first stop we're making, we'll do West 6th.
Okay.
Then we're gonna head over to Dirty 6th.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we have to catch a comedy show at the Mothership,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then afterward, I like South Congress just for the music feel, everything like that. Hit up the Continental, a lot of music history and everything. We'll call it a night after that because we just covered that little area. We're waking up late in the morning.
Real quick, let's go back. Let's clarify. Getting from West 6 and 36 to Congress, it's not like it's like a 2-second walk.
No, but I mean, it's right there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a 5-minute Uber.
There we go.
I mean, or a scooter ride, depending on how ballsy you are.
Or those pedicabs.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going home after that. We're waking up in the morning. We'll call it Saturday. And the very first thing we're doing is we're heading to Barton Springs and we're jumping in, doing a little cold plunge action type of thing, you know, getting woken up because we're only going to hang there for like an hour or two because let's face it, like once you've seen it, you've seen it. And then we're jumping in the car and I'm thinking we're either going Lockhart or we're going to Valentina's in Buda.
Okay.
And we're doing barbecue for lunch on Saturday, and then after that, we're heading out to Dripping to do all of the distilleries, wineries, everything along those lines, right? So that's going to be the end of the day. We're going to come back, get back around dinner time, shower up. I'm heading downtown to a fancy restaurant. I personally like Dean's. A lot of people like Red Ash. There's a couple of other places that it might be.
If you can get a reservation.
Right, if you can get a reservation. Do our fancy dinner Saturday night. And then after Saturday night, agree with you, probably going to stick around the whole West 6th area, maybe do a rooftop at Zaza or group therapy over there at the Westin. Head home Sunday, football, keep it chill. I'm a Browns fan. I know a lot of you are eye-rolling right now. I've got a Browns backers bar that's downtown at the Kung Fu Saloon. It is crazy to me how many people show up at this thing. I feel like I'm in Cleveland. It is a bar that probably holds like 80 people, and there's like 70 people in there. It's a great time. And then after we finish that up, I feel like, what kind of food do you need to get in Austin outside of barbecue? I don't know, but I'm trying to think of something nostalgic. There's a place right around the corner called Desano's Pizza that's like this authentic Italian pizza that's really good, even though Austin's not known for pizza.
Or Italian food.
It's fantastic. Or there's actually a lot of sushi places that aren't half bad, so maybe get some sushi. So that's how I would play it. I think I checked all the boxes. You'd get to see Lady Bird Lake as we cross over the bridge. I'm not a big fan of the bats. You know?
I think the bats is disgusting.
It's weird, man.
Okay, just to teach everyone what's going on at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a feeding frenzy of mosquitoes that they're going to attack.
And they're shitting the bats
Everywhere.
are shitting everywhere. And people line up along the South Congress Bridge to see the largest, what is it called, like collective amount of the Mexican, what is it, like recluse bat or something?
Whatever it is.
Mexican something
It's a wall
bat.
of bats.
And it smells like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not missing much.
All right. Another quick question just for the fun of it. I always like the would you rather. Would you rather be able to converse with animals or be fluent in every language in the world?
Converse with animals because humans fucking suck.
I'm thinking fluent in every language in the world. I think about it for business purposes, man. Like, I'm getting a lot of shit done if I can speak any language in the world.
I agree.
And then,
it would cross a lot of barriers that I find in work in Austin.
right? And then here's the other one I've been asking a lot of people, and this one seems to get a lot of the same answer unless you have over 2 kids. Would you rather be able to eat anything you want and not gain any weight, or only have to sleep 1 hour a day and be completely rested?
I get where the 2 kids come into play now.
It only seems to be like mothers of 3 or more children that are like 1 hour sleep. Everyone else is like,
I'm not there yet. I'm gonna go with the eat whatever. Eat anything.
anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And you have perfect nutrition. You're perfectly healthy. Everything. No, what do you call it? Like acid reflux, no weight gain, nothing.
I'm in.
Right?
Sign me up.
That entire weekend that we just talked about, partying for an entire weekend, eating like shit with barbecue and everything, like you'd be good to go. You wouldn't even gain a pound.
Yeah.
No brainer.
Okay, is that same scenario? You can drink as much as you want.
I mean, I guess eating, drinking.
Could you imagine
just ingesting things into your body?
Kaylee,
Have perfect nutrition.
Kaylee and I were talking about this. I think it was yesterday, the day before. What if you could drink and you never got a hangover? And how crazy the world would be.
I don't really get that hungover.
I am jealous.
I know. So I do this supplement. It's this liquid supplement called liposomal glutathione.
whatever that is.
I know, right? You can look it up. It's on Amazon, and you take a teaspoon of it before you drink, and what it is it's like a liver enzyme like thing. And I've been doing it for like 2 years, man. It was like a game changer. I wasn't getting hangovers that much before anyway. I think it's just all about mitigation, like, are you drinking water? Are you getting good night's sleep? Are you taking your vitamins? But yeah, I don't get that hungover.
I get it. It's 40 hours for me.
Really?
Yeah.
It sucks.
That's why I don't really drink that much.
You got to look
anymore.
into that, man.
So like that's literally why we don't drink that much.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
Like, okay, put it this way. The beer that I put in the fridge for Super Bowl in February,
you still have it.
it's full.
Wow. Yeah, that would not happen at my house.
It is. I've probably had 4 or 5 beers out of it, and our liquor cabinet's still full.
I love beer. I
Yeah,
drink
do
a lot
too.
of beer.
I do too. It just for me, if I have 3 or 4, I will wake up with a headache, and I won't even be that drunk
That sucks.
because I'm not going to get drunk off 3 or 4 beers. But
Right. No, I mean that sounds awful. I feel sorry for you.
it's okay. We'll work on it.
Well, we are 15 minutes late to our next meeting, Lone Wolf Realty Group.
Fantastic.
So we'll have to jump on that call. Anything else you want to cover?
No, but I'll just finish up with here.
Yeah.
Again, I'm Matthew Kemps. This is Matt Kirschling. I'm with Spyglass Realty I'm with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty. And you are?
Matt Kirschling, Gold Star Mortgage. I wanted to say in the beginning of all of this, my big thing is I really want to connect with clients that are either first-time home buyers that, just have a ton of questions, don't feel like you're asking dumb questions. That's what I'm here for. But then my other buyers have always been, if you're writing offers with your real estate agent and they're not getting under contract, call me. Like, literally call me. The acceptance ratio we have by getting involved as the lender and making offers on properties, I've literally have testimonials on it. Go online, look it up. They're like, we made 3 offers with our Wells Fargo approval and no one would take us seriously. And they got involved with me and we got them under contract. So that I haven't been calling anybody out on that in a while. That's my big one.
It's a big one.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Let's get to our next meeting.